The morning sun cast long shadows across the perfectly manicured grounds of Lambrook School in Berkshire as Detective Inspector Sarah Mitchell adjusted her earpiece and scanned the perimeter one final time. It was Tuesday, March 15th, and, like every school day for the past 2 years, she coordinated the security detail responsible for protecting Prince George during his daily educational routine. The 8-year-old prince had no idea that a team of highly trained professionals watched his every move, ensuring his safety while allowing him the precious gift of a relatively normal childhood. Sarah had been with the Royal Protection Squad for 12 years, but this assignment remained her most challenging. Protecting a child who should be free to run, play, and learn like any other student required a delicate balance between vigilance and invisibility. The team had perfected their routine over months of careful planning and execution. Plainclothes officers positioned themselves strategically around the school grounds, while others monitored access points and maintained constant communication with local authorities. Prince George walked through the school gates that morning with his usual cheerful demeanor, his backpack bouncing slightly as he hurried to catch up with his classmates. He waved briefly at his protection officer, Sergeant James Hartwell, who maintained a respectful distance while ensuring the young royal remained within sight. James had developed a genuine fondness for the boy over their time together. George's natural curiosity and infectious laughter reminded him why this job meant more than just following protocol. The school day began normally enough. Prince George participated in his morning mathematics lesson, working through multiplication tables with the same concentration and occasional frustration as his peers. During break time, he joined a football match in the playground, his security detail seamlessly blending into the background while maintaining their protective formation. Mrs. Henderson, his form teacher, had grown accustomed to the subtle presence of protection officers and appreciated their professionalism in allowing her student to experience school life without constant reminders of his royal status. Meanwhile, 20 miles away in Reading, Marcus Thompson sat behind the wheel of his stolen BMW, his hands trembling as he gripped the steering wheel. The 26-year-old had struggled with mental health issues for years, but recent events had pushed him beyond his breaking point. Lost job, failed relationship, mounting debts, and a growing obsession with conspiracy theories had created a perfect storm in his troubled mind. Over the past weeks, he had become fixated on the royal family, convinced they represented everything wrong with society's inequalities. Marcus had spent hours researching royal family schedules and locations, diving deep into online forums where his paranoid thoughts found echo chambers of similar minds. He had discovered Prince George's school location through social media posts and news articles, meticulously planning what he believed would be a symbolic act of rebellion against the establishment. In his distorted thinking, he saw himself as a crusader for justice, though his mental state had deteriorated to the point where rational thought had given way to dangerous delusions. The stolen car had been taken from a hospital parking lot 3 days earlier. Marcus had been visiting his elderly mother, who was recovering from surgery, when he spotted the vehicle with keys left inside. In his fragmented mental state, he interpreted this as a sign that fate wanted him to carry out his plan. He had been driving aimlessly for hours, building courage for what he intended to do, his mind racing with jumbled thoughts about making a statement that would force people to pay attention to his grievances. Back at Lambrook School, the lunch period proceeded peacefully. Prince George sat with his friends in the dining hall, engaged in animated discussion about their upcoming school play. The young prince had been cast as a knight in their production of a medieval adventure story, and his excitement was evident as he described his costume ideas to anyone willing to listen. His protection detail maintained their positions around the dining hall, their trained eyes constantly scanning for anything unusual while allowing their charge to enjoy this simple pleasure of childhood friendship. Detective Inspector Mitchell received a routine update from her team through her earpiece. All stations reported normal activity, perimeter secure, no unusual vehicles or individuals observed. She allowed herself a moment of satisfaction, knowing that another successful day was progressing smoothly. The spring weather was particularly beautiful, and she could see Prince George through the dining hall windows, laughing at something one of his classmates had said. These moments of ordinary childhood joy made all the complex security arrangements worthwhile. The afternoon brought geography class, where Prince George and his classmates learned about different countries and cultures around the world. He raised his hand enthusiastically when the teacher asked about capital cities, proud to demonstrate knowledge he had gained from family travels and conversations at home. His genuine interest in learning about different places and people reflected the values his parents worked hard to instill, despite the extraordinary circumstances of his birth and position. As the school day drew toward its close, Sergeant Hartwell began coordinating the afternoon departure routine with his team. Transportation arrangements were confirmed, routes verified, and all personnel acknowledged their positions for the secure transfer from school to the waiting vehicles. This daily ritual had become second nature, executed with military precision while maintaining the appearance of a normal school pickup. Prince George gathered his belongings from his locker, chatting with friends about weekend plans and discussing their shared enthusiasm for an upcoming football match. His innocence and normalcy in these moments struck everyone who worked to protect him. Despite being third in line to the British throne, he remained fundamentally a young boy who worried about homework, looked forward to playing with friends, and occasionally felt nervous about upcoming tests. The afternoon sun was beginning its descent when the first signs of trouble emerged. A security camera operator in the local council monitoring center noticed an unusual vehicle pattern on roads leading toward the school area. A dark BMW had been observed making multiple passes through nearby streets, seemingly without purpose or destination. The behavior triggered standard protocols, and information was immediately relayed to the Royal Protection Squad's command center. Detective Inspector Mitchell received the initial alert at 3:15 p.m., just as Prince George's classes were ending for the day. The vehicle description matched no authorized personnel or regular school traffic patterns. She immediately activated enhanced security measures, instructing her team to maintain heightened awareness while continuing normal departure procedures. Years of training had taught her that most alerts resulted in benign explanations, but every situation demanded full attention until proven otherwise. The BMW had been circling the area for nearly an hour, its driver's erratic behavior becoming increasingly concerning to monitoring personnel. Traffic cameras captured images of Marcus Thompson behind the wheel, his agitated state visible even through the grainy footage. His face showed signs of sleep deprivation and stress, his movements jerky and unpredictable as he seemed to be working up courage for some predetermined action. Prince George emerged from the school building with his classmates, unaware that security protocols around him had quietly intensified. His protection detail maintained their practiced positions while communicating rapidly through discreet earpieces, sharing information about the potential threat while ensuring their charge remained unaffected by their increased vigilance. The young prince waved goodbye to friends and began walking toward his designated pickup point, his mind focused on sharing the day's experiences with his family. The stolen BMW suddenly accelerated toward the school area, Marcus Thompson's mental state having reached a critical point where his distorted plans began converting into dangerous action. Multiple security systems registered the vehicle's aggressive approach, triggering immediate response protocols that had been drilled countless times, but never needed in actual emergency situations. The carefully orchestrated world of royal protection was about to face its most serious test in years. Detective Inspector Mitchell's voice crackled through communication channels as she issued rapid instructions to her team. Every officer understood their role in the unfolding situation, years of training focusing their minds on protecting their young charge while neutralizing the approaching threat. Prince George continued his innocent walk toward departure, unaware that his safety now depended on the split-second decisions and coordinated actions of the dedicated professionals sworn to protect him. The peaceful afternoon at Lambrook School was about to transform into a high-stakes security operation that would test every aspect of royal protection protocols, human courage, and the dedication of those who had committed their lives to ensuring a young prince could grow up safely in an increasingly uncertain world. The BMW's engine roared as Marcus Thompson pressed the accelerator harder, his knuckles white against the steering wheel. His breathing had become rapid and shallow, his mind consumed by a mixture of rage and desperate determination. The antipsychotic medications he had stopped taking 3 weeks earlier were no longer suppressing the voices in his head that urged him toward this moment of what he believed would be revolutionary action. Through his windscreen, he could see the school grounds growing larger, his target somewhere within those protective walls. Detective Inspector Mitchell's command center exploded into controlled chaos as multiple alerts flooded their systems simultaneously. The approaching vehicle had been identified as stolen, its driver showing clear signs of aggressive intent. Facial recognition software had already begun processing images captured by traffic cameras, while database searches worked to identify the individual behind the wheel. Every second counted as the protection team scrambled to implement emergency protocols designed for exactly this type of scenario. Sergeant James Hartwell received the urgent alert through his earpiece just as Prince George was discussing weekend football plans with a classmate. The young prince remained completely unaware that danger was approaching at high speed, his innocent laughter carrying across the school courtyard as he shared stories about his favorite players and teams. James's training kicked in immediately, his body language shifting subtly as he began maneuvering closer to his charge while maintaining the appearance of casual supervision. Inside the school's administrative office, Headmaster Dr. Robert Thornton was conducting a routine meeting with parents when his emergency phone buzzed with an incoming security alert. The device, installed specifically for royal protection purposes, had never been used in an actual emergency situation. His hands trembled slightly as he read the message instructing immediate lockdown procedures and secure room protocols. Years of preparation suddenly became reality as he began implementing measures that could save lives. The stolen BMW was now less than 2 miles from Lambrook School, weaving erratically through afternoon traffic as Marcus Thompson's mental state continued deteriorating. Other drivers honked angrily as he cut them off and ran red lights, but their irritation quickly turned to alarm as they witnessed his increasingly dangerous driving behavior. Several concerned citizens had already called emergency services, reporting a vehicle that appeared to be driven by someone under the influence or experiencing a medical emergency. Prince George walked across the school courtyard with characteristic boyish energy, his backpack swinging as he gestured enthusiastically while telling his friend about a nature documentary he had watched the previous evening. His protection officer shadowed him at a discreet distance, while other team members positioned themselves along his expected route to the pickup point. The elaborate security choreography continued even as urgent communications flowed through their earpieces about the approaching threat. Thames Valley Police had been alerted and were already dispatching units to intercept the stolen vehicle, but the BMW's erratic route made prediction difficult. Helicopter support was requested, though response time would be critical given the speed of developing events. Road traffic officers began implementing rolling roadblocks along potential approach routes, hoping to slow or redirect the vehicle before it could reach the school area. Marcus Thompson's deteriorating mental condition manifested in increasingly erratic behavior as he approached his target. He alternately laughed and cried, his grip on reality slipping further with each passing minute. The conspiracy theories that had consumed his thinking for weeks now seemed like absolute truth, driving him toward what he believed would be a historic moment of justice. His foot pressed harder on the accelerator as familiar landmarks indicated his proximity to the school. The school's emergency lockdown procedures activated with remarkable efficiency, testament to regular drills and preparation. Teachers quickly secured their classrooms while administrative staff ensured all external doors were locked and monitored. Students were quietly directed away from windows and toward secure areas, the staff's calm professionalism preventing panic while ensuring everyone's safety. Prince George's classmates followed instructions without understanding the gravity of the situation unfolding around them. Detective Inspector Mitchell coordinated multiple response elements from her command vehicle, her years of experience allowing her to process rapidly changing information while issuing clear instructions to her team. Local police updates indicated the suspect vehicle was now within the school's outer security perimeter, moving at dangerous speed toward populated areas. Every available resource was being deployed to intercept the threat before it could reach Prince George or any other students. Sergeant Hartwell made the critical decision to move Prince George toward the school's secure room, a specially reinforced area designed for exactly this type of emergency. The young prince initially protested, wanting to continue his conversation with friends, but James's firm but gentle insistence convinced him to cooperate. As they walked quickly toward the building, Prince George asked what was happening, his natural curiosity beginning to sense that something unusual was occurring. The stolen BMW burst through the school's outer perimeter fence with a tremendous crash of metal and concrete. Marcus Thompson had abandoned any pretense of stealth, his delusional state now focused entirely on reaching his target before security forces could stop him. The vehicle's tires screamed against the asphalt as he navigated the curved driveway leading toward the main school buildings, his eyes wild with the fervor of someone completely detached from reality. Multiple protection officers converged on Prince George's location as the immediate threat became apparent. Their coordinated movements appeared choreographed, each team member knowing exactly where to position themselves to create maximum protection for their charge. The young prince was quickly surrounded by human shields trained to sacrifice their own lives if necessary, though their primary goal remained neutralizing the threat before such extreme measures became necessary. The school's security cameras captured every moment of the unfolding emergency, footage that would later be analyzed extensively by security professionals and law enforcement agencies. The images showed a textbook example of protection protocols in action, with personnel moving with precision and purpose while maintaining focus on their primary mission. The stolen vehicle continued its aggressive approach, now clearly visible to everyone on the school grounds. Marcus Thompson's face was a mask of concentration and madness as he navigated the final approach to his target area. His breathing had become labored, sweat pouring down his face as adrenaline and delusion combined to drive him forward. The voices in his head had reached a crescendo, urging him toward what he believed would be a moment of ultimate justice against the symbols of societal inequality that consumed his paranoid thinking. Prince George was now safely within the school's secure room, a reinforced area designed to withstand various types of attacks while providing communication capabilities with security forces. The young prince's confusion was evident as he asked repeated questions about what was happening, his innocent mind struggling to understand why his normal school day had suddenly changed so dramatically. Sergeant Hartwell remained by his side, providing reassurance while maintaining communication with the response team. The stolen BMW's approach triggered the final phase of emergency protocols as multiple agencies coordinated their response to the unfolding crisis. Armed police units had taken positions around the school perimeter while helicopter support approached from multiple directions. The professional excellence of the Royal Protection Team was about to be tested in ways that training could simulate, but never fully replicate. Detective Inspector Mitchell's voice remained steady as she coordinated the complex operation, her commands clear and precise despite the high-stakes nature of the developing situation. Years of preparation had led to this moment when theoretical training would become life-or-death reality. The safety of Prince George depended on every element of their response working perfectly, with no room for error or hesitation. The peaceful afternoon at Lambrook School had transformed into a security emergency that would test every aspect of royal protection capabilities. As the stolen vehicle continued its dangerous approach, multiple response teams prepared to implement measures designed to stop the threat while ensuring the safety of Prince George and every other person on the school grounds. The next few minutes would determine whether months of planning and training would prove adequate to protect a young prince from a delusional individual whose grip on reality had completely shattered. Marcus Thompson's journey toward what he believed would be a moment of revolutionary action was about to collide with the professional dedication and courage of those sworn to protect the innocent, setting the stage for a confrontation that would demonstrate both the fragility and strength of the systems designed to keep the royal family safe in an increasingly dangerous world. The stolen BMW crashed through the school's ornamental garden beds, sending fountains of dirt and flowers into the air as Marcus Thompson lost control during his final approach toward the main building. His hands shook violently on the steering wheel as psychiatric medications withdrawal symptoms combined with extreme stress to impair his motor functions. The vehicle careened wildly between carefully maintained pathways, leaving destruction in its wake as it approached the area where Prince George had been walking just minutes earlier. Inspector Helen Davies of Thames Valley Police had arrived on scene and was coordinating ground response from her command vehicle positioned outside the school perimeter. Her 20 years of experience in crisis management meant she understood the delicate balance required when protecting high-profile individuals while ensuring public safety. The radio chatter indicated multiple units were converging on the location, but the erratic nature of the suspects driving made interception extremely challenging. Inside the secure room, Prince George sat quietly on a chair, his young mind processing the unusual situation with remarkable composure for an 8-year-old. Sergeant Hartwell knelt beside him, explaining in age-appropriate terms that there was a safety issue requiring them to stay in the special room for a little while. The prince asked thoughtful questions about whether his friends were safe and when he could return to collect his football from his locker, displaying the natural concern for others that his parents had worked hard to cultivate. The BMW's engine screamed as Marcus Thompson accelerated toward what he perceived as his ultimate destination. His delusional state had reached fever pitch, with auditory hallucinations convincing him that he was moments away from striking a blow against the establishment that had supposedly ruined his life. Sweat streamed down his face as he gripped the wheel tighter, his knuckles white with tension and his eyes wide with the fervor of someone completely detached from reality. Detective Inspector Mitchell's team had successfully evacuated all students and staff from the immediate area where the stolen vehicle was heading. Their months of emergency planning were proving invaluable as each team member executed their assigned roles with professional precision. The protection detail surrounding Prince George maintained constant communication while ensuring their charge remained calm and secure within the reinforced room designed specifically for such emergencies. The school's maintenance staff had acted heroically during the evacuation, using their intimate knowledge of the building layout to guide students and teachers to safety through routes that avoided the area of immediate danger. Groundskeeper William Patterson, who had worked at Lambrook for 15 years, positioned himself near the tool shed where he could observe the approaching vehicle while remaining ready to assist any individuals who might need help reaching safety. Marcus Thompson's BMW struck a concrete bollard with tremendous force, causing the front end to crumple and the airbag to deploy violently. The impact should have stopped his advance, but his delusional determination drove him to continue despite the mechanical damage and his own injuries. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead as he fought to restart the damaged engine, his mind unable to process the reality that his plan was rapidly falling apart. Specialist firearms officers had taken strategic positions around the school grounds, their training focused on neutralizing threats while minimizing risk to innocent civilians. The team leader, Sergeant Michael Roberts, had extensive experience in close protection scenarios and understood that every decision made in the next few minutes could have life or death consequences. Their primary objective remained stopping the threat without unnecessary violence, but they were prepared for any scenario that might develop. The helicopter support unit arrived overhead, providing aerial surveillance and coordination assistance to ground teams. The pilot's calm voice provided continuous updates about the suspect's position and movements, allowing ground forces to anticipate his likely path and position themselves accordingly. The aircraft's camera systems captured high-resolution footage that would later prove invaluable for investigation and analysis of the incident response. Inside the secure room, Prince George had begun asking questions that demonstrated his remarkable maturity despite his young age. He wanted to know if the person causing the emergency was hurt and whether they needed help, showing the empathy and concern for others that characterized his personality. Sergeant Hartwell continued providing reassurance while marveling at the young prince's composure under circumstances that would terrify most adults. The stolen BMW's engine finally failed completely, smoke pouring from under the crumpled hood as various fluids leaked onto the asphalt. Marcus Thompson sat behind the wheel for several seconds, his mind struggling to comprehend that his mission had been thwarted by mechanical failure rather than security intervention. His psychiatric condition made it difficult for him to process this new reality, and he began shouting incoherently at imaginary enemies he believed were surrounding his position. Detective Inspector Mitchell made the crucial decision to begin de-escalation procedures, recognizing that the immediate physical threat had been neutralized by the vehicle's mechanical failure. Her training in crisis negotiation kicked in as she prepared to communicate with the suspect, hoping to resolve the situation peacefully while maintaining all necessary security precautions. The safety of Prince George remained her absolute priority, but she also felt responsibility for the clearly troubled individual whose mental health crisis had created this dangerous situation. Thames Valley police officers approached the disabled vehicle with extreme caution, their riot shields and protective equipment ready for any potential escalation. The lead officer, Constable Jennifer Walsh, had extensive training in mental health crisis intervention and understood that the suspect's behavior indicated severe psychiatric distress rather than calculated criminal intent. Her approach would need to balance firmness with compassion to achieve the safest possible resolution. Marcus Thompson stumbled from the damaged BMW, his movements uncoordinated as the combination of adrenaline crash and medication withdrawal affected his motor skills. He carried no visible weapons, but his erratic behavior and loud shouting made officers maintain maximum alertness. His appearance showed clear signs of someone in severe mental health crisis, with disheveled clothing, poor hygiene, and the wild-eyed look of someone experiencing psychotic symptoms. The school's crisis counselor, Dr. Sarah Williams, had been preparing to provide psychological support for any students who might be traumatized by the emergency lockdown procedures. Her expertise in child psychology would be crucial in helping Prince George and his classmates process the unusual events they had experienced. She understood that even brief exposure to emergency situations could have lasting effects on young minds if not addressed properly. Prince George asked Sergeant Hartwell if they could say a prayer for the person who was having trouble, demonstrating the spiritual education his parents had provided alongside his secular learning. The sergeant was moved by the young prince's compassion even in moments of personal danger, reflecting the character development that would serve him well in his future role as a leader. This moment of innocent kindness provided a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding outside their secure location. The police negotiation team established communication with Marcus Thompson. Their specialized training focused on de-escalating situations involving individuals experiencing mental health crises. The lead negotiator, Detective Sergeant Laura Chon, recognized signs of psychotic break and adjusted her communication style accordingly. Her goal was to build trust and redirect the suspect's attention away from his delusional mission toward accepting help for his obvious distress. Emergency medical personnel stood ready to provide immediate assistance to the suspect once the situation was fully secured. Paramedic Supervisor Tony Martinez had experience treating individuals in psychiatric crisis and understood that Marcus Thompson needed medical intervention as much as law enforcement response. The coordination between police and medical teams demonstrated the comprehensive approach required for complex emergency situations. The stolen BMW continued smoking as various emergency systems activated to prevent potential fire hazards. The school's sprinkler system had been triggered by smoke detection sensors, creating additional visual chaos while ensuring fire safety protocols were maintained. The combination of water, smoke, and emergency vehicle lights created a surreal atmosphere around what had been a peaceful educational environment just hours earlier. Detective Inspector Mitchell received confirmation that Prince George remained safe and secure, allowing her to focus completely on resolving the situation with the disturbed individual who had created this emergency. Her relief was palpable, knowing that her primary mission of protecting the young royal had been successful despite the unexpected nature of the threat. The professional excellence of her team had prevented what could have been a tragic outcome. Marcus Thompson's shouting gradually decreased as the police negotiation team's patient approach began penetrating his delusional thinking. The combination of his physical exhaustion, medication withdrawal symptoms, and the failure of his plan started creating cracks in his psychiatric crisis. Detective Sergeant Chun continued her careful dialogue, offering help and support while maintaining the firm boundaries necessary for everyone's safety. The scene around Lambrook School had transformed from educational tranquility to emergency response coordination, with multiple agencies working together to ensure the safest possible resolution. The professionalism displayed by every individual involved, from royal protection officers to local police to school staff, demonstrated the effectiveness of preparation and training in crisis situations. Prince George's safety had been maintained throughout the ordeal, though the full impact of these events would continue unfolding in the crucial minutes ahead. The breakthrough in communication came when Detective Sergeant Laura Chun mentioned that help was available for Marcus Thompson's obvious distress, her words finally penetrating the wall of delusion that had driven his dangerous actions. The exhausted man began crying, his body shaking as the full weight of what he had attempted slowly penetrated his consciousness. The psychiatric crisis that had consumed him for weeks was beginning to crack under the patient intervention of trained professionals who recognized his need for medical help rather than punishment. Marcus Thompson slowly raised his hands above his head, his movements careful and deliberate as the police negotiation team's words continued reaching through his psychotic break. The realization that he had driven a stolen car toward a school filled with innocent children began overwhelming him with shame and horror. His mental health condition had created a nightmare scenario, but the professional response of law enforcement and medical personnel offered hope for resolution without further violence. Inside the secure room, Prince George had been drawing pictures on paper provided by Sergeant Hartwell, his natural artistic inclinations helping him cope with the unusual circumstances. The young prince had drawn images of policemen helping someone who looked sad, demonstrating his intuitive understanding that the emergency involved someone who needed assistance rather than someone who was simply evil. His emotional intelligence and compassion continued impressing the protection officer who had witnessed his growth over many months. Detective Inspector Mitchell coordinated the careful approach to Marcus Thompson, ensuring that medical personnel were ready to provide immediate assistance once he was safely in custody. The man's obvious mental health crisis required compassionate intervention alongside necessary security measures. Her experience had taught her that many dangerous situations arose from untreated psychiatric conditions rather than criminal intent, making appropriate response crucial for both public safety and the individual's welfare. Thames Valley police officers moved slowly toward Marcus Thompson, their approach designed to avoid triggering any remaining paranoid responses while ensuring complete safety. Constable Jennifer Walsh led the team, her training in mental health crisis intervention guiding every step of the careful process. The suspect's compliance was encouraging, but everyone remained alert to the possibility of sudden behavioral changes that could accompany severe psychiatric episodes. The emergency medical team prepared for immediate intervention as Marcus Thompson was safely taken into custody without resistance. Paramedic Supervisor Tony Martinez recognized clear signs of psychotic break combined with medication withdrawal, conditions requiring immediate medical attention in a controlled hospital environment. The coordination between law enforcement and medical professionals demonstrated the comprehensive approach needed for complex mental health emergencies. Prince George asked Sergeant Hartwell whether they could visit the sad person in the hospital to make sure he was getting proper help, displaying the remarkable empathy that characterized his personality. The protection officer was continually amazed by the young prince's ability to see beyond immediate danger toward the human suffering that had created the crisis. This compassionate worldview reflected the values his parents worked diligently to instill despite the extraordinary circumstances of royal life. The stolen BMW was secured as evidence while environmental teams began assessing damage to the school grounds and ensuring no hazardous materials had been released during the incident. The vehicle's mechanical failure had actually prevented a much more serious situation from developing, though the psychological impact on students and staff would require ongoing attention. The school's beautiful gardens could be replanted, but the memory of this day would remain with everyone who experienced it. Dr. Sarah Williams, the school's crisis counselor, began preparing comprehensive support plans for students and staff who had been affected by the emergency lockdown procedures. Her expertise in childhood trauma indicated that most young people would recover quickly with appropriate support, but some might experience lingering anxiety that required professional attention. Prince George's resilience was encouraging, though she planned to monitor his emotional state carefully in coming weeks. The all-clear signal was given as Marcus Thompson was transported to a secure medical facility for psychiatric evaluation and treatment. Detective Inspector Mitchell felt enormous relief knowing that her primary mission of protecting Prince George had been successful while also achieving a peaceful resolution that preserved the disturbed individual's life and dignity. The professional excellence displayed by every team member had prevented tragedy through careful preparation and skilled execution. Prince George emerged from the secure room with characteristic curiosity, asking detailed questions about what had happened and whether everyone was safe. His first concern was for his classmates and teachers, demonstrating the natural leadership qualities that would serve him well in his future role. Sergeant Hartwell continued marveling at the young prince's composure and maturity throughout an experience that would have terrified most adults. The school's headmaster, Dr. Robert Thornton, began implementing post-incident procedures designed to help the entire school community process the unusual events they had experienced. His leadership during the crisis had been exemplary, with calm decision-making that ensured everyone's safety while minimizing psychological trauma. The emergency protocols that had seemed theoretical during training exercises had proven their worth in actual crisis conditions. Local media began arriving at the school perimeter, though strict security cordons prevented any intrusion into the investigation area or interference with ongoing operations. The Royal Protection Team's media liaison officer coordinated with press representatives to ensure accurate reporting while protecting sensitive security information that could compromise future protection measures. Public interest in the incident would be intense, requiring careful management of information release. Prince George was reunited with his parents in a secure location away from media attention, his relief at seeing familiar faces evident despite his remarkable composure throughout the ordeal. The Prince and Princess of Wales had been immediately informed of the emergency and rushed to ensure their son's well-being. Their pride in his behavior during the crisis was obvious, though they recognized the need for ongoing discussion about the events he had experienced. The investigation into Marcus Thompson's background revealed a tragic story of untreated mental illness exacerbated by social isolation and financial stress. His family had been attempting to get him psychiatric help for months, but systemic failures in mental health services had left him without adequate support during his psychological deterioration. The incident highlighted broader issues about mental health care accessibility and early intervention programs. Detective Inspector Mitchell conducted a comprehensive debrief with her team, analyzing every aspect of their response to identify lessons learned and areas for improvement. The successful protection of Prince George vindicated their training and preparation, but she recognized that each incident provided opportunities to enhance future security measures. The professionalism displayed under pressure had been exceptional, though continuous improvement remained essential. The damaged school grounds would require extensive repair work, but the more important healing process involved helping the entire school community understand and process their experience of the emergency. Children were remarkably resilient, but the unusual nature of this incident required careful attention to ensure no lasting trauma developed. Support services would remain available for anyone needing assistance in coming weeks and months. Marcus Thompson received immediate psychiatric care in a secure medical facility, his treatment focusing on stabilizing his mental condition while ensuring he posed no further threat to public safety. His case would become a study in the importance of early intervention in mental health crises and the need for comprehensive support systems for individuals experiencing psychiatric emergencies. The compassionate response he received demonstrated society's commitment to treating mental illness rather than simply punishing its symptoms. Prince George returned to his normal school routine within days, his natural resilience, and the excellent support provided by family, teachers, and protection staff helping him process the unusual experience. His questions about Marcus Thompson's welfare continued demonstrating his remarkable capacity for empathy and understanding. The incident had provided an unfortunate lesson in the realities of his position, but his response showed the strength of character that would serve him well throughout his life. The Royal Protection Team implemented enhanced security measures based on lessons learned from the incident, though their primary goal remained allowing Prince George to experience as normal a childhood as possible. The balance between security and freedom required constant adjustment, but their commitment to the young prince's well-being and development remained unwavering. The professional excellence they had displayed during the crisis strengthened their resolve to continue providing the highest level of protection. The peaceful resolution of what could have been a tragic incident demonstrated the value of professional training, coordinated response, and compassionate intervention in crisis situations. Prince George's safety had been maintained while also ensuring that a troubled individual received appropriate help rather than harm. The dedication of everyone involved, from royal protection officers to local police to medical personnel, had transformed a potentially devastating situation into an example of how society should respond to mental health emergencies with both firmness and humanity.